On the note of that note of interesting errors, can we now really look at what the errors were? On this note again, I would wish to start with Kweku. Kweku, the ISD has come out to deny any involvement. Its former acting director has come to accept full responsibility. I'm quoting him, full responsibility. He says, I assume full responsibility. He's been sacked. What else? We're still crying, and all over social media, we are making all sorts of noise about it. Why?
Oh, because it was very embarrassing. I mean, to say the least. We are an object of international ridicule in some circles. Even Kenya, some of their newspapers, are joking with it. So it hurts. It's a great country.
So that was it, a little fun. You call our president of Ghana. End of it.
No, that's serious. That particular error.
You can't believe what he said.
That was not even typo. It's just factual inaccuracy, and I'm being charitable.
Okay.
The way I'm describing them. That one, from my own investigations, emanated from the Flagstaff House Communications Bureau. That one. But the content, largely, was done at the ISD. You see, the ISD workers, their reaction was understandable because they were not aware of what went on. The acting director was apologizing for the content. Read his statement carefully. It was between him and his deputy director, who is responsible for publications and ICT or so. They were responsible. Of course, there's a national planning committee with subcommittees and all the rest. But in terms of the practice, that content was put up largely by these two gentlemen, with some people, of course, assisting them. So if he apologized for it, it was right. The impression that it was a whole ISD thing is what provoked the workers to go into that scene. But of course, you see, the gentleman had all the time been a target for the rank and file agitation. They didn't want him there in the first place. When he was being sent there, they protested. But somehow, the gentleman was forced on them. So this was like a payback time. They got a good opportunity to express their disgust about his presence there.
Okay, Kweku, first, let me try and do this. And I'm hoping that TV should be able to show us some of the pictures of the brochure and the mistakes that we are talking about, the errors. On the brochure, the coat of arms is written coat of arm, coat of your arm. That's Ghana's coat of arm. And then you have, for example, in describing Ghana's, the colors of the flag, it talks about dark green. And it says that dark green to represent the forest arid farms, the forest arid farms of the country. And that is one thing that was also pointed out. Ghana's position as in the continent, on the, is it equator or something, was also another issue. And then there was the description or the designation of His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta as President of the Republic of Ghana. I'm reading the brochure, addressed by His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Ghana. And then also, there was another page where they sought to describe the president. And they said a few things even before describing the president. I'll just read that. Under the Ghana-Kenya relations, it says, as Africa surges like eagle into the globalized sky of the 21st century, Ghana and Kenya are strategically positioning themselves to maximize returns for the benefit of their peoples under the youthful leadership of John Dramani Mahama of Ghana and Uhuru Kenyatta and Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya. Both nations have set into motion socio-economic, political, and cultural relations that other African states must emulate. For the current bilateral partnership between the two countries is exemplary. And exemplary ends that with an exclamation mark. So a couple of stuff that went on. Okay, so on TV, you can see the pictures of the particular mistakes, that errors that we are referring to. Okay, Kuku, so you can proceed.
I mean, by our standards, it's a bad case, you know. So I wasn't surprised when he was asked to, well, not asked, he was fired.
Yes.
Yes, and I was only surprised that the deputy is still hanging around because he's equally responsible.
Oh, but this is a man who's taking responsibility. He says he's the one.
Look, this job is such a bad job that it reflects their level of ineptitude and incompetence. It's clear. ISD, you know their history? Very rich history. Very rich. The kind of people who've passed through that place. It's no joke. So I'm clear in my mind that the quality, the kind of quality they display is clear that they're not fit for purpose relative to ISD. I'm clear in my mind, you know. And why? We're building a nation. It's not a matter of friendship or relationships and things. So they can move on. Maybe the expertise can be applied elsewhere, but this place is not the right place for them. Then I'm not surprised too that something happened at the Flagstaff House in terms of the Communications Bureau.
Right.
It was obvious because there was collaboration between the two. So it was obvious that something had to happen. And you see, with the Flagstaff House Communications Bureau, a lot of things had happened previously, and not much had been seen to be done. You know, the president's missing speeches, the pages in his speech, you know, even the...
You're referring to the ECOWAS gathering?
Yes, ECOWAS thing.
Or was it EU gathering, rather?
Yeah, that's right. And one or two other incidents. It was clear that something had to be done by the Flagstaff House Communications Bureau too. And I'm told the minister, in fact, the statement indicated the Minister of Communication had taken over. You know, there are people who are making a point that that appears to be the same old story, because they remember when Malo exited, but those people have not gone back for the statement that was issued. That statement said the Minister of Communication would assume the role of being a spokesperson for the president, but still indicated that the Flagstaff House Communications Bureau will still be in charge of certain publicity and other things. Right. So there was still an extension. And now, from the look of things, it is like that has been subsumed into the Ministry of Communication. So there's a clear extension of what is being said now and what was said previously. But clearly, there was the need. I think that our friend Stan is a young man. I think I like him. He works hard. But his wings have been clipped, obviously. This is a very polite and diplomatic way of saying that, gentlemen, you have not met the requirement. And I'm told from reliable sources that he used to do some small protocol duties here and there. It will help. You know, it's important. This country became a victim. Even the president was a victim in this matter. You understand that?
No, but it's a human institution. Are we not expecting just too much of that?
Not this. Look, few typos here and there would have been okay. And that's not peculiar to this occasion. There are many more examples. But this, many typos, plus factual inaccuracies, and can you believe what happened?
It's a tragedy.
Yes, you can't just ignore this.
Okay, so could you hold on briefly? Let me hear Dr. Jumayo.
Yeah,
Yes.
it wasn't just a few typos as good. It was a document of tragedy. It was a shame and embarrassment to read that. At first, when I first saw the pictures coming in, I thought it was a joke. Sure. I actually could not believe that this was a document that was passed and authorized to go out and to be distributed as something as serious as a 59th independence anniversary. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I mean, if one of my students gave me that document, instant fail. I mean, no hesitation. And it was, you know, it wasn't just the typos. It was the use of some forms of colorful language, which at points were incomprehensible. I teach globalization. I don't know what a globalized sky is. I've always known eagles to soar and not surge.
That's right.
You know, these are things that you may say are minor, but that document reflects the nation. It's not just my personal writings that I give out that might, you know, only reflect upon me. But this is a document that reflects the nation, a 59-year-old nation. So we're telling the world, this is how far we've come.
All those who came to celebrate with us have gone, taking this away as a souvenir.
Yeah, exactly. And we're a nation full of people who are skilled. We do have meticulous people here, people that do have great command over the English language. And it really does surprise me that this was allowed to go out, because I'm sure there was a committee, well, I know there was a committee, and there were subcommittees that were in charge of this. So how on earth...
Manasseh Azure actually called a member of the committee, a very respected statesman, who said...
The chairman.
Chairman of the
National Planning Committee.
Who said that if anybody needed any answers to any questions about the brochure, they should contact Stan Dogbe. That is why some people are unable to reconcile Mr. Okay, I'm used to calling him Jojo Kelly. And
Mr. Arthur.
Yeah, Mr. Arthur. You know, can't reconcile his, you know, acceptance of responsibility with that one.
But the content,
but that's why they need to come out. Because even now, this error-ridden brochure, do we know who printed it? Who was responsible for it? How even the process of going about getting the particular company, whichever one it was, do we know, was it open tendered, was it advertised, then what process? All of this should have been documented within the committee. As of now, we don't know, and when you don't know, of course, you're going to grapple at straws.
He said he did the content, he wrote everything by himself.
Except the president of Uganda, Ghana thing. That came from the Flagstaff House.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
So there must have been a collaboration between the two.
He says he wrote, this is his own statement, that he wrote and then submitted for proofreading because he felt that as the one who authored it, he couldn't proofread himself.
Who proofread?
Okay, so he left it for proofreading and then he left it at the Flagstaff House. He went there and saw, you know, people glancing through it, reading, so he took for granted that everything was being done. The next time he saw the brochure was in a finished form on the day of the occasion in the morning. He read through and saw the errors, but he took the decision that...
As a soldier on the battlefront.
Yes, his own expressions, yes. He took the decision that it ought to be distributed.
Who was responsible for the proofreading at the Flagstaff
He doesn't name the person.
Well, we need to know. We do need to know. We need, because the thing is, this issue has so many questions that beg for answers. And the longer we protract this, the longer we kind of shroud it in secrecy and don't want to reveal exactly what went on. And people don't want to just know for knowing's sake. We want to know because we're concerned that this doesn't happen again. We want best practice. We don't want mediocrity. We want the best practice at all times. So, you know, if we want to avoid this happening, it's no good saying, oh, it won't happen again. Why won't it happen again? It won't happen again because we've done a forensic analysis, we've looked at each component, we've looked at where we've made the mistakes, and we've opened it to public scrutiny. Because now it's almost as if you ask questions, you're badgering or you're witch hunting or you're asking for too much or you're raising the bar too high. Indeed not. No, I expect better.
Let me hear Madam Korte. What do you say? Is it really the case, or we are simply over-exaggerating the impact? We say it's brought shame to Ghana internationally. Are we exaggerating?
Samson, I would like to start with letting you know what it felt like being there that day, because I actually attended. I'm not sure that everybody here attended. I attended. It was a glorious morning.
Right.
It was the 59th anniversary of Ghana's independence. prior to that day, there had been a lot of media and, you know, the hype, and it was wonderful. And the words that Kwame Nkrumah said 59 years ago about Ghana being free forever and all that. So we went there excited, all dressed up. You know, everybody was in their best clothes. It was a wonderful, bright and sunny day. There was a great display. We had international heads of states, 2 of them visiting, you know, and usually it's very hot, but that particular day it wasn't too hot, so it was pleasant. The display was beautiful. There was rich culture, and I think that has been corroborated by many people. There were some displays that, you know, people could argue there's room for improvement, right. And it would be nice perhaps if some people could make some suggestions about how we could improve on some of them. But it was a very nice display. More importantly, the president gave a wonderful speech. He praised our forefathers, not only our own Kwame Nkrumah, but Jomo Kenyatta, Cabral, and all that. So we heard about them and the good work that they had done. He also praised some current young people who have risen up above the challenges to do well, like Frida
He never
Bedwe.
fails to mention Farida Bedwe.
Farida Bedwe, the new man, the new kid on the block, Abraham Atta. You know, so it was a day that we were all very happy, and it was full of praise. President Kenyatta himself spoke about trade relations between the 2 countries. That was exciting. And the displays, even though some of them were repeated, were still exciting again. Maybe we can add some more to it later. I know someone even said, why Taekwondo, so forth and so on, is from another culture. But it showed fit children and young children being fit, being healthy. So we had a generally good day. Unfortunately, the brochure that was given out, which usually helps all of us to know, oh, what's coming up next and so forth, had this terrible mistake of labeling the visiting president from Kenya as the president from Ghana. So that was not good at all. It's totally unpardonable. Then, of course, as you continue to read, it now felt like some sort of a poem that was not going anywhere. And I think some of you have said some of the things in there which are totally unfortunate and should not have been there. Clearly, whoever wrote those things got carried away and started writing almost, you know, rubbish, as it were. So that was no good. But the mood that day to capture it was beautiful. And I noticed on Twitter also, and a few of my friends did, that Gabi Ochredagum also did mention that it was a wonderful day, and he used the words, it was rich on culture, but it was really nice. The ladies who danced that door and spoke, and the drums, it was really nice. I'm saddened that this one bit, the booklet, which actually when they gave out looked very nice. The printing was done quite nicely, color separation and all, but the content was totally unacceptable. Apart from the lineup and all that, we are told that the content that we are all upset about, apart from the program lineup, was done by a certain deputy director of the ISD, an institution. And that's why I agree when some of our senior people say we must build strong institutions. That institution had this deputy director who wrote this. He passed it on to the acting director, and I think Kweku has said that apparently this acting director is not very much liked at ISD, perhaps because he's not a civil servant and he came in from the Flagstaff House. Whichever way it is, he, as part of the committee, should have been checking on this. I don't know what he meant by he wouldn't proofread because he did it. Because he confessed that it was written by his deputy. So you didn't write it anyway. So surely you should have proofread it. Yeah, you should have proofread it. He didn't. And then he passed it on to the committee, who most likely assumed that they had done that work already, and then it went to the printer. Very unfortunate. It should never have happened or ever
on the morning he discovered these errors were there.
I'm just coming to that. So all those things happened that should not have happened. It tells all of us that even when things come to you, you must double check all over again. No assumptions at all, which is sad, because we should trust each other to do good work. I mean, if Esler gives me legal opinion, I should have a certain level of trust in the legal opinion she's giving me. I don't need to go and double, triple check with others. But perhaps that's where we are. Then the gentleman, the acting director, says on the morning, he opens the pack and realizes that, oh, it's got all the old mistakes that shouldn't have been there in there. He now had to make a judgment call to distribute those brochures or not. Honestly, with the kind of mistake, I mean, that first mistake where you have the president of Kenya labeled as the president of Ghana, that tells you right away this should not go out. This should not go out. And he made a wrong judgment call and then put it out. And as Abdul Malik says, he said he was like a soldier on a war front. You don't put yourself out to be killed. Not at all. He should not have done that. You don't run, you know, into the bullet. So he did that and put it out. And now we are all, as a nation, upset. You can imagine that the first gentleman of this country, President Mahama, is the one who is most upset and most embarrassed because his colleague, most likely, when he was looking through to, oh, when will I be speaking, which we all do, will realize that, oh, my dear, look, or my friend, my brother, they put me here.
There's a photograph on social media in which people actually speculate that that's what they may have been, you know.
Can you imagine how President Mahama must have felt? So this embarrassment, all of us have felt it. However, I have to say it was a really wonderful day. This should never happen again. Yes, as Professor Jemima has said, what is it that we are going to do going forward as a nation that this does not occur again? So first of all, we realize that this gentleman who confessed openly that he was the source of this brochure coming out in its bad state has been fired. There's also communication that says that the Ministry of Communications is taking over the communications work that is being done at the Flagstaff House. I think it's going to make things simpler. So we won't have two places and have balls dropping in the middle. So that will make things easier. The communication that came out was derived from another communication that came from the Chief of Staff, which I asked for, and I did get it from the Minister of Communications. That speaks to the fact that Ministry of Communications is taking over the Information Bureau at the Flagstaff House. It also speaks to the fact that Mr. Standogbe will now take over protocol services at the presidency.
That's contained in it?
Yes, at the presidency. So that was a comprehensive statement that I have even with me here that says clearly what happens next. So it's not so much just analysis and talk and nothing else, but this person moves here and this person moves there. Now, as we all know, mistakes happen. Some of them unforgivable.
They should have been put out there as well.
Yes.
Okay, there's a portion.
Some mistakes are unforgivable and so forth and so on. But sometimes these things do happen from filing. Even when you send text messages, sometimes it goes in the wrong way and all that. So I know some people have been saying, oh, you must fire Mr. Standogbe and all that. Mr. Standogbe has his strengths and has his weaknesses. By all means, we should use his strengths. So President won't rush, or the Flagstaff House would not rush to do such a thing.
Some say that brought the presidency too much trouble.
No, but in this case, his wings have been clipped.
Exactly, and he's now
the statement says that
the
Minister of Communications has been directed to have oversight responsibility for the Flagstaff House Communications Bureau. Mr. Standogbe, who has hitherto been in charge of the Communications Bureau, is reassigned to the Protocol Services Division at the presidency.
At the presidency.
Right.
Yeah,
well.
at the presidency.
Would have killed speculation.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I think that although this happened and it was sad, and we've all discussed 9 years of independence celebrations in the regions, all the 10 regions. We've had little mishaps, but not one as big as this and as embarrassing as this. So we learn lessons from this, and I'm sure that next time nobody will take for granted, oh, I've drafted this, I've drafted that. But most people will go through it.
Okay,
and we should have less errors going forward.
But return to you briefly, because there are text messages coming. Some suggest that they had expected at least an apology from government, so to speak. they are not satisfied with what came from ISD.
I agree with you,
what came from the gentleman, but they want from government itself. I'll come to you so you speak to that.
Yes.
And whether or not you think, like some suggest, that this job ought to have been done by the Protocol Service of the Republic. Esla, the NPP has issued a statement already, and it says that there ought to be investigations. What else do you want?
The issues are many, and the fact that this man has resigned isn't enough.
He's not resigned,
no,
he's
well,
been sacked.
He was fired.
He's been fired isn't enough. We need to find out how he even got into that position in the first place. Was it through, it's a public service position. Was it a public services
That's
commission?
not the subject we are looking at.
No, I'm saying that, how did he even get there to be able to make himself responsible or take full responsibility for this debacle? So it is a valid, there are other issues that we need to consider, and that is why the MPP is calling for an investigation. We can say, oh, he's been sacked, so that's okay. There's no need to look at any other issue. If he was not the one who authored it, and as we're now being told, it was his deputy director who actually authored this atrocious document. That's the top two in the Information Services Department. How did he also get there? What was the quality of English that he communicated that encouraged him to be promoted to that position?
Why did they ignore the template?
I'm even coming there. Yeah. This is the 59th time we've had
but the
an
workers
Independence Day
confess
celebration.
that the printing department
No,
has
we're
been
talking
shut down
content.
We're
since
talking
this
about the
month.
content.
It's about content.
No, we've done this over and over and over again. The information you are putting out is not new.
Yeah.
So he thought that he was doing more poetic exercise and so went off on a flight of
She
fancy.
simply have gone for the template.
Thank you.
Yes.
If you're doing your own private things, you can experiment with whatever expressions you want. But this is an official assignment. That's why I'm asking, how did they rise to that position?
Yeah.
So these are critical questions that we need to answer. Is that the levels that we've sunk to that anybody at all can just walk into any position regardless of their qualification or competence? These are valid questions because it saddens me that the topmost two positions in our Information Services Department can be occupied by such people who display such gross incompetence. What does that say about the quality of representation in the public services generally? Yeah. So we can't just say, okay, it's okay, he's been fired, and let's just go back to business as usual. Now, there are stages of proofing documents. The fact that you've assigned the responsibility of conducting a particular exercise to somebody doesn't absolve you of the responsibility of supervising the work that you've given them to do. You delegate tasks and you ensure that your delegatee has done the work that you gave to him to do competently. So at least just look at the final product and satisfy yourself that they have obeyed the directions that you gave them. He did nothing like that. Yes, trust your subordinates, but check the work they do so that you can also satisfy yourself. Whatever is going out is your product because you are the boss. So at least it carries the stamp of your approval. But if you don't know what the document is saying, how can you verify that indeed it meets your own standards? So you ask your secretary to draft a letter to you. They type it out and bring it to you. You don't say, I have a great secretary, so I will put my signature to it. No. You read through it. It's so basic that I am dumbfounded that this document could have been produced and distributed. And now we are a laughing stock the whole world over. And yes, Stan has also been reassigned. But that also takes me to my pet peeve with this administration. When women goof in this administration, they are promptly sacked, fired, removed, disappear into oblivion. When men, I'll give you 3 examples in a minute.
That's all.
I'll give you 3 examples in a minute. But let me make my premise. When men same goof. They are giving new positions and they are rehabilitated and giving another chance. Victoria Hammer, promptly dismissed. Hawa Uboya Gariba had a fight with somebody. She was a deputy minister for gender. Everybody's forgotten about her, but I haven't. Very nice woman, competent, sharp, great personality. Yes, she has a fight. She has an altercation with somebody somewhere. Promptly dismissed.
Was she dismissed?
Where is she? She was a deputy
Was it not a
minister
reshuffle that she
for
suffered? Perhaps
women
I
affairs.
remember.
She was a deputy minister for women affairs. Where is she now? Do you even remember her?
You serve as a minister at the pleasure of the president.
Wonderful.
If you reshuffle and you don't get to go back, you don't count that as a sack.
I don't have any difficulty with that at all.
Okay.
Promptly disappears into oblivion. Primarily because of that, because her reshuffling happened shortly after this altercation. Jifa Ativo resigned because of smarties. How many more men in this administration haven't also goofed, made mistakes, done terrible things, and been reassigned? PRDC, where is he now? Still at post. Brazil, we embarrassed the country in the eyes of the whole world. Elvis Free Ankara in the bosom of the president at the presidency. NHIS, money is lost. Where is my dear friend Sylvester Mensah? He's also a presidential staffer. He has another job.
The BNI paid him a visit.
What amounted to that? Absolutely nothing. So for me, it's mere window dressing. Latest one, Stan Dogbe, who has embarrassed the presidency on countless occasions. Speech lost, journalists being, recorders being, whatever. Smashed. Journalists being packed like sardines in tipper truck to watch to cover the games. The accident that led to Samoniama Donko's death. Countless incidents of, well, that may not be his responsibility, but countless incidents of embarrassing incidents which were laid at his doorstep. Where is he now? Giving another cushy job in the protocol department of the presidency.
It's a demotion.
It is said that he still
has a job.
It's said that people simply just hate him for no reason. When very fine gentlemen at the presidency left the presidency, he was being blamed that it is because of him that they left. Dr. Atuguba, Doche Malo. Meanwhile, we had gotten to know that some of them they are signed on to a brief period at a place.
Oh, really?
So it just.
So you think Doche Malo left the UN just come and walk around here for 1 year?
Abang publicly said if the president was working with him, he was naked because of him. It shows that somehow those comments are true, that some people just hate him.
My point is, there have been too many too many of those things. And yet, he is so indispensable to the presidency that, no, we can't sacrifice him. Let's look for someone else to be the scapegoat here. We'll find you something else to do. No problem. But I just want us to look in the mirror and see if we like what we see. That's what I'm doing. The manner in which women who make mistakes are treated in this administration, and the manner in which men who make mistakes are treated by this administration. But that's even a side issue. I have a favorite quote in the brochure, and I wrote it down somewhere. As if by divine designed. Ghana is strategically positioned on the equator, making her the center of the globe. And like the sun, like the sun, she radiates light to all parts of the world. That sounds like
okay. It's okay. End it there without any further commentary. End it there without further commentary. Yes, but actually, the just something I wanted a second of your thought on was the apology he issued and the things he said. There are those who are also raising questions about he saying, because he had issued the apology on a letterhead which he now admits is not the letterhead of the ISD, that he created created it himself, using the coat of arms. Now, in the criminal laws of this country, you cannot do that. If you did that without the express permission of the Minister, is it of Interior, you have committed an offense. Some say that is forgery, and beyond what he suffered, he ought to be prosecuted for that. Is that not asking too much?
But, I mean, he ought to have known better, because I heard that he was a lawyer.
Yeah, he's a lawyer.
You know, that's what makes it even more, I'm choking on the words, it makes it even more offensive. He ought to have known that you can't do that.
It's
and
a lawyer who is being frank and sincere about the situation.
A lawyer
to have
If you
hidden
don't
the
start
facts.
who is
You
committing
produce something.
unpardonable mistakes.
No.
You don't do it. This, in fact, it's not done. A letterhead of it's an official document. You don't just sit in your home or office and create a letterhead.
He
You
says
don't
he's got
do
computer skills.
We all have computer
Samson,
skills.
please.
Yet, if we did that, if I did that, I would be prosecuted.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, really, all of this, when we unpack the issues, in all seriousness.
Okay,
how-
now just wait. I'll come to you formally. I'll end.
Samson,
Yes, I'll end with you on the question. I'm going to read those text messages. They say, why isn't it that State Protocol didn't do this job? Or again, why is there no an apology from government officially?
So first and foremost, in this, I mean, this second time around, the apology was not only to the president, but to the people of Ghana as well, to the government and the people of Ghana. So that apology is to all of us. It should not have happened. Again, when we talk about investigations, I agree completely with Esla. It can never be business as usual anymore. And the fact that perhaps the investigation is not public doesn't mean it is not happening. It is happening. And all the issues that have been raised here from Professor Jemima, from Abdul Malik, and from Esla are all part of the issues that are being looked at. So an investigation is going on. But in public sector as in private sector, when you are dealing with issues like that and you are investigating, you investigate, you come up with your report, and you come out with what needs to be put out. You don't want to come out in an ad hoc manner. One question is asked, you answer it. Another, you answer it. But you put it all together and put out a proper press release or a statement on what happened. We need that so that we can diagnose and fix and never have this again. So that will be done. By all means, that will be done. I know that associations or groups like Occupy Ghana have also raised some of the issues that Professor Jemima raised. I'm hoping that when these issues are raised, that they are raised for corrective measure and not raised just for malice. Because like I said, what happened embarrassed everybody. So it should not be in that vein, but that it's being done properly. There are 100 radio stations, about 20 TV stations, all asking questions, throwing it about. The response has to be concerted and come out properly. So that will be done. You know, in the past, there have been many mistakes. We can look at past mistakes and vie them against this one. Mr. Standogbe was not the one who authored the write-up. He was part of the group. He was not the one supposed to proofread, but the whole committee you can hold responsible. So saying that firing him,
but the committee chair
I'm not
says
sure.
go to Standogbe.
It's, you know, the committee chair can say go to anyone at all. Right now, he's in a position where, as Abdul Malik said, his wings have been clipped, if that makes people happy at all. But at least he now does the protocol stuff for the presidency, which in my own experience, he does very well. Any event that he has managed it very well. And I'm glad that we can still use someone who is useful. I agree completely with Esla on the issue of women and how we are treated when, in case we do anything wrong. I think that there is a little injustice in that when we look at how men are treated after a situation and how women are treated. And there's also a bit of this thing with Ghanaian women or even African women. When there's a bit of a trouble or some fear, we almost become intimidated and we don't fight back. You know, I ask that we should try and come together. We should advise each other to be able to stand strong and fight back on some of these issues. By all means, today that we've discussed it, it's been heard by a lot of people. Women are not treated too well after they've gotten into trouble. The Shraj commissioner for one. That is one that always breaks my heart when I think about it. We could have dealt with this in a much better way. Jifa Ativo, we could have dealt with it in a much better way, because what happened was one of the littlest things she does in her office. This woman handles bigger contracts. So I agree with Esla on that. But in terms of investigation, not for once should any Ghanaian sit and think that government is not doing anything about what has happened. There is a process that is going through, and there will be a proper press statement.
Yes,
oh yeah, there will be a press statement that should come out to
and
address
again,
it.
your mention of his ability and prowess, so to speak, and skills at organizing events and doing them so well, and so he'll be able to do a good job at the protocol department, reminds me that in the latter part of the week, there were speculations all around, and it was that the brochure, which we are told may cost about 400,000 Ghana cedis or so, 450,000 Ghana cedis, may not have gone through any process of tender, may not have whatever, and that there were speculations that maybe his events group, event PR, was involved. And then last night there was some statement published by the Graphic, but they have since removed it, which was supposed to be coming from Standogbe, denying that his group has had anything to do with the printing of the brochure.
Samson, no one can hold brief for that, but the important thing is that the printer is not responsible for the content. And I think we've all agreed that the content was done by this person who confessed and even said so much that he's gotten himself fired.
Well, on those issues about the procurement and the rest, Occupy Ghana has issued a statement, not actually issued a statement, it has written a demand to the Attorney General and the Communications Ministry, and copied to the ISD and the Chief of Staff, and it's requiring or demanding all information regarding
Ministry of Finance will be interested in the financial part of this and how it affects our fiscal. So we are going to be interested in the public procurement part of it, how much was spent and all that. Now that there's an investigation, everything will
So they have asked for at least 3 days that the disclosures be made. If it is not done, they will be going.
You see, that's why I have a problem with Occupy Ghana. Listen, you can raise consciousness and awareness, but don't come and start giving deadlines and ultimate. These things will be done. If in 3 days, if we don't have the correct picture, we won't put out a wrong picture because of 3 days.
You can write. You can reply their letter.
There will be,
you can reply their letter and say we
I'm not sure
can
I'll
help
reply
you.
their letter. It's not because of Occupy Ghana that we need to deal with this situation. We'll deal with it because we are managers of the economy.
Of Occupy Ghana is in response to that subculture of inertia and lack of transparency.
Particularly supplying information.
But we need to trust the government to a certain level.
Yeah, but if you take all the cases they have raised, there is a reason for it. You can see that there's been a certain inertia or inability.
So they play an important role as a conscience of the society, and that is appreciated. But like I'm saying, it shouldn't cross over into another realm. And be used as a tool.
There's another small matter that I need to raise. I think the government needs to look at the content of the publications it puts out. The quality of English on their publications is atrocious. There's a giant billboard in Kumasi advertising the Kumasi Central Market under the Changing Lives Transforming Ghana banner with the website of www.gov.gh at the bottom of it. And it's talking about modernizing local markets. And modernizing is spelled wrong. Please. This is a direct government thing. So if you're going to do your politics and promote your projects,
some have even asked the media, you make mistakes every day in your publications.
Printers devil.
Is it really such a big deal?
I want to recall a time when there was a writ. Esla, when there was a writ, and this, I'm not saying it for any bad intention, but there was a writ that came out in the 2000s that said the president versus Chachu Chikata.
I will answer you because I will answer that because I was in the Attorney General's office at the time.
And these things have
signed by a justice of the Court of Appeal.
Let me answer that.
And someone lower down would deal.
Let me answer that because people keep putting that out. That rate is not issued by the Attorney General. It is the Director of Public Prosecution, and they use set forms.
You
Forms
were
which are
working the other time,
yes,
so
I
you
was
should
there.
know.
But it was signed by Justice Julius Ansah.
You see?
Not the Attorney General, and yet it's
But
been laid
it
at the
came
Attorney
from
General's.
yes.
Of course, it was an error.
This is
how it is.
It was an error, but not
Okay.
a fatal
Not
one.
the Attorney General's mistake.
All right.
It is from
Thank
the
you.
judicial
No,
Thank
service.
you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It is a writ issued
Thank-
from the judicial
Yes,
right.
service.
things
So it
Thank
is
you.
an error.
Okay.
It is an
These
error
things
of the
happen.
judicial service.
Thank you.
Not the Attorney
And
General.
Thank you.
And yet
These
you
things
keep
happen
playing
and
it.
All
should not
right.
happen.
All right.
General's
Thank you.
fault.
Thank you
And
very
the
much.
matter
The
is
matter
wrong,
was
it should
dealt
be
with
fixed.
at the Supreme
Okay.
Court level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was dealt
Okay.
with and settled.
Okay. Ladies,
But
you are,
your
you are,
issue
People
not
keep
happen.
saying it's
ladies,
Attorney
ladies,
General.
you are receiving a lot. You are receiving a lot
was
of
the-
thumbs up for the manner in which you are doing the discussion this morning. Let's keep it at that.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Thank you.
We're
Thank you.
passionate about
Thank you
issues.
very
There's
much.
no-
I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you for a minute or two, and then Kweku, and then we move on to the next. But my production is going to raise Ace Kuma on the line briefly because he brings a different perspective to the discussion, because he says that the guy has actually not been sacked. If you look at the content correctly, it does appear he's only been relieved of the ISD job, and he could go back to the Flagstaff House where he is.
Just
Well,
like
that-
another
that's
possibility.
Yes.
Found another job.
Now, whilst we are doing that, we are getting Ace on the line. A few messages. Chris Yao, who is a law lecturer, says that the contract on which Woyomi made his claims may have been invalid under the Constitution, but it doesn't mean that he could not have had a claim of right in good faith,
But he had
which
no
is a
contract.
valid defense to the offenses of
Let's not
stealing
confuse issues.
and defrauding by false pretenses. We should stop being emotional and look at the law. Okay, you are repeating what the Court of Appeal said, that a questioning of right that he had.
Woyomi had no contract. Even the Supreme Court came to that
Kofi
conclusion.
Sika,
Let's not
Kofi
go
Sika
there.
says, please let's your panelists talk about the positives of the 59th anniversary celebrations as well, other than, okay, so you sent it before
You spoke
Madame
about
Cote
it, yeah.
gave us a bit of
It was
that.
definitely
John,
a beautiful day.
John Sarkodie Ado says Ghana is not a failed state, as some commentators claim, but a strange country. It is a country where many are dishonest and many things are abnormal. It is a country where a few are honest and few things are normal. Woyomi's case is a sad story. The independence shame is equally a sad narration of our story. I hope this is not a baneful developing
Another one. It's catching on.
subculture. Right, just hold it there for me, Tilly. I'll go and take Ace briefly and come. Good morning. Thank you very much, Ace Kuma, for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for calling me.
Right.
I just want to speak to two issues.
Right.
The first is in reaction to the Deputy Minister for Finance, Madame Cote. Madame Cote, Occupy Ghana has written several letters to your office, which have been ignored. You have neither acknowledged receipt nor even written back to provide information. I can list Smarty, I can list Jida, several letters that you have not responded to. And so now when we give it to you, your lawyers will tell you, you get a time limit for answering. If the person doesn't answer within that time, then it grounds an application to the court for you to release that information. If you had engaged with us in all of these letters and responded, or even dignified it with an acknowledgement of receipt, we will not be giving time limits. So if we are giving time limits now, it is because of what you have done or failed to do. We respect you and expect the same respect back. But do not ascribe malice to us because we set a time limit. We are setting the time limit based on your behavior. That's my first point.
Okay, now hold on. Before you get to the second point, you mentioned, for example, Smarties, and you write and you take it to the AG's department. The AG replies you. Why do you want the Ministry of Finance to reply again?
No. Listen, we can identify Smarties. We copied the Ministry of Finance. And we said in the letter that to the extent that any of these persons relate.
It's gone off.
Surely,
okay.
if it does, we would. But if it doesn't, then we wouldn't.
Okay, right. So I think you have an answer there, really. a frank one. You may not like it, but that's the answer she's giving you, that you said to the extent that any of those matters concern them or whatever, they ought to reply. And they didn't feel the obligation to reply, and the AG replied you. But please raise Ace Ankuma back so that he finishes on that point and the last issue.
I would also like to mention to Lawyer Ankuma that I agree with him about acknowledging letters. I think that is very important.
It's a very
so
bad
if
culture
any letter
governments.
is written to us
Public
and we have
office.
not written to Ministry of Finance and we have not acknowledged, I want to apologize now.
Okay.
I'll follow up and I'll check with our Chief Director's office and make that almost like a policy. Please let us acknowledge. Because what I've noticed in the recent maybe 1.5 years or so is Chief Director is very good at writing even a one-liner. Dear so, acknowledge receipt of your letter, will come back to you.
That's nice.
So I will check up on this Occupy Ghana one. We should acknowledge letters.
Thank you.
So I'll follow up on that.
Thank you. That's very nice of you. Do we have Ace back? Okay. Okay, please bring him up quickly so I can take a break and then return to continue. Then this one is coming from Gorazo in Kent. He says, I have had a very terrible week. I have been working on pulling a few investors to motherland for a while now, but last week was certainly one of my roughest. It's very uncomfortable when a potential investor calls and jokingly asks, quotes, so is it Kenyatta or Muhammad then? Unquote. I think we have very little idea the international eyes and ears following our stately functions. Some news get discussed here in the UK even before many citizens of Ghana hear about them. Well, maybe a light joke, just take it as long as it doesn't derail your investment plans. Ace, can you finish up on the issue for us?
Actually, I just heard Madam Monakoti, so I have piped down.
Oh.
Madam Kote, I will wait to hear from you.
Thank you, Ace. Thank you.
I mean, if you say this to me, I can't have anything against you. This is extremely nice.
Okay.
So I
See
will,
what women can do.
pipe down on that immediately.
Yes.
And wait to hear from you.
The gentleman that
It's
you
like
are.
you, I come from private sector and I do get irritated when I don't get acknowledgement of my letters.
Okay.
So I'll follow up
I will
on that.
immediately pipe down on that.
Okay, my dear, thank you.
The issue with government is that they ignore us until we go to court.
Okay.
So
The second issue quickly is...
The second point is that look at the statement that came from the Minister of Communications carefully with respect to the acting ISP board. Remember that he was seconded to that office, which meant that he had a previous office, which I understand to be the Black House Communications Bureau. So if he has been relieved of his duties of acting director of the ISP, it doesn't mean he's been dismissed from employment completely.
Okay.
He's been removed from there. But the question we have to ask is that has he been removed from the public sector?
Okay.
And if he's indeed a public servant, the party, even the service for removal must be in accordance with the public sector law.
Okay.
So let's not say that he's sacked. Maybe the effect of being relieved of that acting position is that he refers to his previous position. Remember, he was only acting.
All right.
That's the second point on me. But Madam Monacote, all respect to you this morning.
Thank you, Ace Ankuma. Thank you very much.
Ace.
Right now, let's hear Jimame's last thoughts, final thoughts on the Brochure gate.
I just wanted to say that we need to look at the repercussions of this. I mean, one of our viewers alluded to it, but you know, Madam Moni, you said we should learn to trust.
There has to be a certain level of trust.
Which I agree. But I agree with you completely on that. But these kinds of things, when we unpack the issues, when we realize things have not been proofread or due diligence hasn't been done, then we have very little trust in our institutions. And indeed, you know, some of these people that have on the committees are people who are supposed to draft legislation for us or go out and negotiate on our behalf or represent me and our country internationally. How are we going to have that level of trust, which you rightly said we should have, if simple things like a brochure, when we unpack the issues, they're not able to come up with the processes that were duly followed. So I think really and truly, it's deeper than, a few spelling mistakes. It really is about how
like
we
like
go
like
about
we went
doing
for a
things.
loan in a salon, right?
We never did.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was
Yeah.
nothing like that.
You know, it's not a few spelling mistakes, it's a lot of mistakes,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
it's unacceptable.
Okay.
And therefore, we
sorry.
should pay attention.
Kuku, finally.
If you misdirect a call to a saloon, that doesn't mean that the loan arrangement was.
Oh,
being done
misdirect a
by
call.
Yes.
Oh yes, somebody did misdirect a call.
The salon.
question
The salon was in the same building.
Yes, almost
Okay.
adjacent.
Okay.
So,
So that's
in any case,
news.
Osabumwafum went to Parliament when the minority moved the motion for recession of that loan and gave all the evidence to the effect as to the location of the.
Okay, Kuku, let's proceed on the substantive.
That's one of the.
Okay,
Just
thank you.
deliberate propaganda.
It's a
and
Actually, I agree with you, Mr. Bako. It is true. Sometimes addresses and so forth can be misleading
Okay. Thank you.
and all
Kuku,
that. I agree. I've
Kuku,
seen that a
your
couple
final
of
point
times.
on this.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think there isn't much to add,
Right.
except to say that there's no doubt that Stan was delegated with the responsibility of coordinating this brochure thing, and it appears that his mind was more on the printing rather than the quality.
No, coordinating the event, the whole event. The
Yes, but
brochure
it
was
is
So,
just
so
part
so he
of
takes
it.
ultimate
Yeah.
responsibility.
Yes,
That's
he
what
takes
you're saying.
ultimate.
Okay.
And I think what has happened is
So
okay.
reassigning is not enough. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
It's
All
okay.
right. All right. Esla, you insist on a minute. Do it quickly. Let me take a break.
I've just forgotten what I was going to say.
Okay. So.
I think we all agreed
Okay.
that the acting
Right.
director should not pop up anywhere else.
Uh-huh. Okay.
If he's been relieved of his
Actually, Ace has
position,
raised
Okay.
a very critical
Yeah.
should
point.
be
Yeah.
sent,
That is
well,
important.
they
Yeah.
should go through the processes
Okay.
of ensuring that he's not entrusted with any public office
Okay.
until he earns
Okay.
our trust in that
Right.
regard.
Okay. Well, I told him
Re-earns.
on my Facebook. I said
He didn't earn this in
a
the
studying
first
lawyer
place. He
never
didn't.
broke. He's a lawyer. Just gather your law books, dust them up, and my
Okay,
friend.
that's an
Forge
interesting.
letterheads
Let's
as
do
well.
business. Thank you. And then this one says, my point is the inability of the president to deal with those around him who perpetuate these shameful acts with impunity have brought us to where we are now. You didn't identify yourself. Hafiz in Tamale says the biggest issue of this country is leadership. Our president lacks leadership qualities, and that is the bane of this country. Well, okay, I won't comment about that. From Albert in Kumasi, he says, crime is crime. Even if it takes 100 years, Woyomi will one day answer for falsely taking money he did not work for. You also don't identify yourself. You say, can you please appeal to the finance minister to pay us for the roads we constructed since 2013 under the cocoa feeder roads? We are dying and no one is minding us.
That's going to start
Please read
happening.
my text.
Yeah, that's going to start happening.
Going to start
Yeah,
happening.
because now an amount has been allocated
Okay.
from
Okay,
from
thank
Cocoa
you.
Board for that.
Thank you very much. And I understand why you didn't identify yourself, but let's be bold souls in this country. Don't be afraid. This one from Kofi in Kumasi says, the embarrassing brochure is also happening at our hospitals, educational institutions, etc., directly reflecting the state of the nation. This one from Kofi Abanga in Duyaya Nkwanta. It says, how on earth could we have gotten the name of our president wrong in the national brochure? We didn't get the name wrong. We rather replaced him with Uhuru Kenyatta. Nana Akwesi, North Carnation says, it's been 7 days since the disgraceful happenings of the independence event. Until now, not even a simple apology from government has been issued to Ghanaians and the world. This is very sad. Well, the deputy minister says the apology is to all of us.
Yes, there was one that was issued right after, so 9 days after. Yeah.
One issued and signed by who?
By the chief of staff.
By the chief of staff.
By the chief of staff, yeah.
I thought the chief of staff's communication was
To the Minister of Communications, who then put out.
about the relieving of.
He started by apologizing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Omitted some portion.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
he edited it.
All
yes,
Put the
maybe
edited
within his
version.
discretion.
All right, so there's been an apology from the Chief of
You
Staff.
think there should be an international apology? What do you all think? Do you think there's the need for an international? Because a thing occurred here.
Not exactly targeted.
Just
at-
here,
yes,
yeah.
I'll
just
move
in
on. Mr. President, please note that there is none other but you as our president. But, sir, you have surrounded yourself with some. Okay, sorry, I can't read the rest of that. I'll read the last one here, which is from Raf I. Newgbawe. He says, President Mahama must know that his responsibility to the state is superior to his relationship with his political appointees. Our national image is sinking, and our president is shielding his cronies.
Samson,
Thank you.
I remember the point I wanted to make. 1 second, please. There was another gaffe which we've all lost sight of. After the president left, his guests were left standing on the tarmac, and their cars were nowhere in sight. It's never done.
They delayed a bit.
Yes,
I
but
observed.
usually the president's car comes.
State protocol.
State protocol.
Okay,
I mean,
all right.
that was also
Thank you. We take a break here. We'll be right back.
And they were just, twiddling their thumbs there. It was very, very bad.